Hello everyone, today let's go with the prose in Module 3 to serve with love. Edward Richard Braithwaite is commonly known as E.R. Braithwaite, is the author of this lesson. He is a novelist, teacher and a diplomat who was born in South America. During the Second World War, he worked as a pilot with the Royal Air Force. After the war, he took up the job of a school teacher in the East End of London. His writings depict the difficulties of being an educated black man and retaining the human values in inhuman circumstances. He also held several positions in the UNO. This lesson, To Serve with Love, is an extract from the autobiography of E.R. Braithwaite. This book is written basing the real challenges faced by him when he worked as a teacher. This lesson presents the new challenges of a new teacher addressing the students who are indifferent and ill-bred. So when we go into the lesson, next morning I had an idea. It was nothing clear-cut, merely spectacularly but I considered it all the way to school. Then after assembly, as soon as they were quiet, I waded in. This might be a bit rough, I thought, but here goes. So this story, To Serve with Love, is the personal experiences of E.R. Braithwaite when he worked as a teacher. So he says that when he, on the second day when he goes to the school and finds that, on the first day he finds that all the students are of different mentality and they are indifferent. So he goes to the second day, he goes into the class with a different plan. After the assembly completes and school and the children move into the class, he goes into the class and starts speaking. I'm your teacher and I think it right and proper that I should let you know something of my plans for this class. I try to pitch my voice into the most informally pleasant register. We are going to talk, you and I, but we'll be reasonable with each other. I would like you to listen to me without interrupting in any way, and when I am through, any one of you may say your piece without interruption from me. I was making it up as I went along and watching them. At the least sign that it wouldn't work, I had dropped it fast. So he starts saying that, so as I'm your teacher, I have a plan for your class. So I am here with a plan, so I'm going to tell you about it. So you need to listen to me. You shouldn't interrupt me. If you have any doubts without interruption, you can ask me later. They were interested in spite of themselves. Even the husky Blaze Senham was leaning forward on his desk, watching me. So as he says these, as he starts speaking, he sees everyone and he finds that everyone are interested to listen about his plan and strategy. And even Senham, one of his students, was leaning on a bench and watching him. So he finds that everyone are interested to listen to him. My business here is to teach you, and I shall do my best to make my teaching as interesting as possible. If at any time I say anything which you do not understand or with which you do not agree, I would be pleased if you would let me know. Most of you will be leaving school within 6 months or so. That means that in a short while you will be embarking on the very adult business of earning a living. Bearing that in mind, I have decided that from now on, you will be treated not as children, but as young men and women by me and by each other. When we move out of the state of childhood, certain higher standards of conduct are expected of us. So he says that he came here to teach the children. So the children, he says that if anything he says is not understood by the children, they can ask him, and if anyone don't agree with him, can also say him and explain. So he could correct himself and he could change his way of explanation. And he also says that as the students are of higher classes, they are going to leave the school within 6 months. So he wants to consider them as adults. They are not considered as, they are not treated as children, but they are adults now. So he says that you are going to you need to be treated as young men and women. So and then he continues saying that at this moment the door was flung open and Pamela Dare rushed in. somewhat breathlessly, to take her seat. She was very late. For instance, I continued, there are really two ways in which a person may enter a room. One is in a controlled, dignified manner. The other is as if someone had just planted a heavy foot in your backside. Miss Dear has just shown us the second way. I'm quite sure she will now give us a demonstration of the first. So as he continues saying, Pamela Dear, one of his students, suddenly rushes from the door. As the door is closed, she suddenly opens the door and she rushes without asking any permission. She rushes into the class and she takes her seat. So then the teacher, E.R. Braithwaite, so he continues saying that, so firstly to say that there are two ways of entering into a room. So one is in a very polite and dignified manner, like by opening the door and asking the permission and then entering into the room, and the other one is coming very rushingly, as Pamela Dare shown us. So then he asked, as already she shown the second way, he asked Pamela Dare to show the first way also. To this day, I do not know what made me say it, but there it was. I was annoyed with the way in which she had just barged her way in insolently, carelessly late. All eyes were on her, as she had probably planned, but instead of supporting her entrance, they were watching her, waiting to see the result of my challenge. She blushed. Well, Miss Dear, her eyes were black with anger and humiliation, but she stood up and walked out, closing the door quietly behind her. Then, to my surprise, and I must confess my relief, she opened it as quietly and with a grace and dignity that would have befitted a queen. She walked to her seat. So, as E.R. Braithwaite says her to show the second one, she feels so humiliated and she was with some anger. She stands up. Everyone were watching Pamela Dare that whether she does the challenge or not. So she, with some anger and humiliation, she goes to the door and she quietly closes it, and in a polite and dignified manner, she opens the door slowly and asks permission, then enters and takes her seat. Thank you. As from today, there are certain courtesies which will be observed at all times in this class. Myself you will address as Mr. Braithwaite or Sir. The choice is yours. The young ladies will be addressed as Miss, and the young men will be addressed by their surnames. So he says that there are some rules to follow in this class, that everyone will observe these rules. So the first one is everyone must address each other in a polite manner. So he says the students to address him as E.R. Braithwaite, Mr. E.R. Braithwaite, or as Sir. He gave the choice to the students, and he also says that everyone must address their friends with their surnames, if it is a boy with their surnames, and if it is a girl by using Miss. I hadn't planned any of this, but it was unfolding by all by itself, and I hoped fitting into place. There was a general gasp at this from boys and girls alike. So he didn't plan of saying all these things to the students. Potter was the first to protest. Why should we call them Miss? We know them. What is your name? Potter. I beg your pardon? Potter, Sir. The Sir was somewhat delayed. Thank you, Potter. Now, is there any young lady present whom you consider unworthy of your courtesies? So so after he said that everyone must address their friends in a polite manner, then Potter stands and he asks that, so why do we need to address them as Miss? We already know them, so we could call by their name. Why do we need to call them in a polite manner like Miss? So then he asked, E.R. Braithwaite asks him, what is your name? So then he says, Potter. So he asks again, what's your name? Then he says, Potter, Sir. So he gives a gap and then he says, Potter, Sir. So he says that, so E.R. Braithwaite asks Potter that, do you think anyone is unworthy of calling Miss? So then the Potter says, Sir, is there any one of these young ladies whom you think does not deserve to be addressed as Miss. Then when Potter he didn't understand what E.R. Braithwaite asked, so E.R. Braithwaite repeats the question again, that is anyone in your class does not deserve to be calling Miss. So he stays quiet. With one accord, the girls turned to look at Potter as if daring him. He quailed visibly before their concerned eyes and said, "No, sir. You should remember, Potter, that in a little while all of you may be expected to express these courtesies as a part of your jobs. It would be helpful to you to become accustomed to giving and receiving them." I walked around my desk and sat in my chair. For the time being, at last, they were listening, really listening to me. Maybe they would not understand every word, but they had get the general import of my remarks. So when the teacher asked that is any girl in your class does not deserve to be called Miss, then Potter replies, "No, sir." Then the teacher says that, "So you must learn these all things from now, because after when you leave the school, you go and work in when you work in a job, so you all must follow these things. So you must give respect and take respect. So you must be very polite. You must learn it from here itself." So and the teacher turns around the table and he sits on his chair. Then he finds that when he looks at all the students, he finds that everyone are really listening to him and everyone are involved in his talk. So he is very interested and he continues. The next point concerns the general deportment and conduct of the class. First, the young ladies, they must understand that in the future they must show themselves both worthy and appreciative of their courtesies. We men will show them. As Potter said, "We know you. We shall want to feel proud to know you, and just how proud we shall feel will depend entirely on you. There are certain things which need attention, and I have asked Mrs. Dale Evans to discuss them with you in your domestic science period today." This last bit was right off the cuff. I had have to see Mrs. Dale Evans about it during recess, but I felt sure she had help. So next he starts saying about the second point that needs to be considered, and he says that every girl must know few points. As we give you respect, you must also give the boys respect. So all the things you must follow will be taught by your science teacher, domestic science teacher, Mrs. Dale Evans. So he said he asked her to teach all the girls what are the things they must follow, what are the things they must know which will be helpful in their future. So he actually didn't ask her, but he needs to ask, but he is sure that she will help him in this topic, in this matter. Now the boys. I have seen stevedores and longshoremen who looked a lot cleaner and tidier. There is nothing weak and unmanly about clean hands and faces and shoes that are brushed. A man who is strong and tough never needs to show it in his dress or the way he cuts his hair. Toughness is the quality of mind, nothing to do with muscles. I suppose that in about a year or so, some of you will be thinking of girlfriends. Believe me, they will think you much attractive with clean teeth, hands and faces than without. So after addressing the girls, he starts addressing the boys, and he says that you all must be very clean and tidy, and you must be very strong, you must be tough in mind. So he also says that everyone must wear clean clothes, clean shoes, and they must be tidy and dignified in a dignified manner. So he also says that when a boy thinks of girlfriends, if a boy needs to have girlfriends, all the girls will see that whether he is clean or not, is he dignified or not. So he says these all things to the boys. I gave them a moment to digest that. You are the top class. The operative word is top. That means you must set the standards in all things for the rest of the school. For whether you wish it or not, the younger ones will ape everything you do or say. They will try to walk like you and use the words you use and so for as long as you are here, much of their conduct will be your responsibility. As the top class, you must be top in cleanliness, deportment, courtesy, and work. I shall help you in every way I can, both by example and encouragement. I believe that you have it in you, and to be a fine class, it depends on you. So he addresses this class as the top class, because as this is the higher class in the whole school, he also says that every junior, every student in the whole school follows this class, because this is the highest class and these are their seniors. So every junior tries to follow them. So this class must be in top. This class must be in top in cleanliness, in courtesy, and even in work. And the teacher promises that he always helps them in every manner he could help them. So now, any questions? A hand shot up. So then he asks any questions, anything they didn't understand. So someone raises a hand. Yes, Miss Joseph. What about Mr. Weston? He is never tidy and his shoes are never clean, sir. Things were looking up already. The sir came easily. Mr. Weston is teacher, Miss Joseph, and we shall not discuss him. So it's Miss Joseph. Miss Joseph. She says that they're one of their teachers, Mr. Weston. He is not tidy and he's not clean at all. So she asks the teacher that why he isn't tidy or why he isn't clean. You are said that everyone must be clean, but as a teacher he is not clean. So she says, when she says, she uses the word sir after her statement. So he thinks that okay, these all are listening and they started following the things. Then he says that as he is a teacher, we shouldn't discuss about him. So there was a murmur of dissent at this. I'm your teacher and I'm the one should criticize if I fail to maintain the standards I demand of you. There was an absence of the silent hostility of yesterday. I felt that I had somehow won for myself and breathing space at least. So as he said that he is a teacher, we shouldn't talk about him. Mainly I shouldn't talk about him. So everyone became silent and they were murmuring to each other. So he says that if you have a problem with me, come and say to me. So as you have a problem with him, so go and say to Mr. Weston, but not me. So you shouldn't criticize. I have no right to criticize the other teacher. I have only the right to teach you. So as the class was very interesting, he felt that like it was not like yesterday, and he has changed the students a little bit. There were no further questions, so I told them they could spend the remaining minutes of the periods considering and discussing the things I had said. Providing they did so quietly, I sat back and observed them. So he said that after he completed talking, he says that so if you have let's continue the class. So he's the remaining time he gave them to discuss among themselves in a quiet manner. So everyone listened very clearly to the teacher, and E.R. Braithwaite was happy that he has changed many of them, and the class was so quietly and the discussion was very quiet among the children. At recess, I went to the staff room and told Mrs. Dale Evans how I had impulsively committed her to talk with the girls. She was quite pleased about it and promised to lay it on thick. So after the class completes, Mr. E.R. Braithwaite goes to the staff room and talks to Mrs. Dale Evans about today's his class, and he requests Mrs. Dale Evans that she needs to help the children. She needs to address the girls and she needs to address the girls and say them which are helpful in their future. So Mrs. Dale Evans was very pleased, and she promised that she would do it for sure. In this lesson, E.R. Braithwaite, as a teacher, he tries to build a rapport with the children and he tries to change their attitude and behavior. Finally, he succeeded in doing it. So this is the summary of the lesson. I hope everyone understood this lesson, and thank you everyone. Stay home, stay safe.